You've probably heard of Corrie and Oskar Schindler, people who helped Jews escape death during the Nazi Holocaust of World War II. But you probably haven't heard about Christians who helped preserve Jewish art and antiquities. Author David Fishman has written about it. He even won a 2017 National Jewish Book Award for the book Smugglers, Partisans, Poets, and the Race to Save Jewish Treasures from the Nazis. Mr. Fishman, thank you for joining us today. How come few people have ever heard of the smugglers, even though they risked their lives for something so valuable to the European Jewish community?
Maybe because it took place in a far-off place in an obscure city called Vilna, or today Vilnius. And a lot of the sources about this story are in small languages like Yiddish. So I'm hoping my book will bring broader attention to something that it deserves broad attention.
Why did the Nazis insist on destroying the Jewish art, even the poems? Were they hoping that all Jewish presence then could be exterminated by them taking such actions?
That's exactly right. Actually, the Nazis did two things. They destroyed most of Jewish books and documents, manuscripts, and art. But what they considered to be valuable for their own purposes, they actually sent off to Germany to specialized institutes, to study the Jews. The Nazis wanted to exterminate the Jews, but they wanted to show scientifically, quote unquote, that was necessary, that it was necessary to exterminate the Jews. So they actually had specialized scholars, Nazi scholars, on the Jews. And some of these books and cultural treasures ended up being sent to Germany.
So what specifically, can you give us a couple of examples of what some Christians did to preserve some of this artwork?
The rescue work went on by both by Jews and by Christians. There was a group of Jewish slave laborers who worked for the Nazis exactly doing this job, sorting what would be sent to Germany and what would be sent to be destroyed. The majority had to be destroyed. And there was a work site outside the ghetto in the city. And the Germans did not guard the work site during the lunch hour. And there were Christian friends for these Jewish slave laborers who would come visit their friends during the lunch hour and bring them some food, bring them some news and encouragement. And before they left, they'd take away some books, some papers, some drawings. And that way, a lot of this material ended up in Christian hands.
Well, how about the faith perspective? How did saving these treasures encourage the Jewish community about faith and commitment to their belief?
The rescuers, some of them were believers, some of them were not. For the believers, the religious books, Bibles in Hebrew, Talmud, other religious books were of special significance. I would say all of them had a perspective of eternity, if I can use that phrase. Even the non-religious members of this brigade, which was, when I say perspective of eternity, I mean they were very aware that they themselves probably won't survive. They'll probably be murdered by the Nazis. But if the books survive, if these cultural treasures survive, something will live on beyond them for many generations. And so so I think even for the secular members among this work brigade, there was a deep spiritual dimension to what they did, which is to think not only about yourself, but to think long-term about future generations.